Okay, so today I'm going to be trying to show you how to make an ocean board. Honestly, they are practice, but I'll give you the tips that I have. I am using FX Black label resin from Countertop Epoxy. It's a 1-to-1, although all 1-to-1s aren't the same. I find that with oceans, the quicker working time, the better. You can use the longer working time like the J Dixon, but I find it's a lot harder to keep your wave the way that you like it. So I'd stick with the faster one. I've got 2 blues I'm using. The first one is the Eye Candy Ojai Blue, and the other is the Rolio Pigments Azure. Really pretty colors, and I mix them so that when you run off the stick, you don't really see the stick, but that's a preference. And you can see my consistency isn't super runny, but is still fairly runny. And I've mixed my white with the Moss Ocean Art Resin Pigment White. I find it works really well, although people use a lot of different things. And I have this little cup. I put 6 drops in per cup. So, I like to start with my line of white. And I'll just put it to get the bubbles out, because it will kind of chart where I want my wave to go. So I like to start with it before I lay my color. I tend to do a thinner line to get it set, and then I'll go back and make it a little bigger. But it kind of helps guide my wave. The reason I like this resin is this line I've got here will hold. I've tried with the J Dixon, which I really like for molds, but this is what it does. It likes to run away. I had a nice wave like this, and it traveled. I did have a flat board. I made sure it was level. It moves a lot more. Anyway, so I do put a decent amount. It's not a thin line because I don't like seeing my board, but it's not super stacked either. I had about a little over 30, I think, milliliters in that one. I should have done more of this one, but that's okay. And then I just work to kind of spread it to the edge. It will run over most of the time. I didn't tape the bottom of this one. I couldn't get the tape to stick, but I wasn't really worried about it because you can just scrape it off or sand it off when you're done. And it will work its way over the edge. As I work on it later, I do run my finger over so that I don't have spots where it dripped and spots where it didn't, because I don't like that, but that's more of a preference thing. That I found is once I get this laid how I want it, I wait 20 minutes, at least 15, but upwards of 20 minutes with it sitting just like this. I don't lay my white yet, and I let it sit. This helps it thicken up, so when I blow the wave, it doesn't just blow everything off the board. And I feel like I get much better waves that way. So, like I showed you, my white is mixed. It's sitting here waiting. I let it sit, even in this little cup, for the 20 minutes. I will, if I see big bubbles, hit them with a torch now. But I try not to hit too much because I don't want it to run off the board. I want it to thicken a little bit because we can hit it as we go out. And you can see I got a little bit of blue in there, but it's just a little bit. I'm not really worried about it. I don't think you'll notice it when you blow the wave out. So we will wait and come back. Okay, at this point it has been 20 minutes. So I'm ready to blow out the waves. This is a heat gun that I'm using, and I find that this condensing tip is the best and easiest one to get the waves to behave the way I want. A lot of people do it without this tip. That's fine. I just find it works a lot better. And this one I have about 75% up on the heat. And in case you're wondering. Alright, so as you can see, after 20 minutes, my epoxy is a lot thicker. It's more of a honey consistency, and that's what I want. So I give this a really good stir. Off my board in case I make a mess. And sometimes I'll just hit it with the heat gun for just a moment. And sometimes it'll get bubbles on the top. So, I got some bubbles going on here, so I'm going to go ahead and hit them first. Maybe. Uh-oh, my torch might be empty here. I don't want to do a lot of heat because I don't want my resin to start moving. It's a lot thicker and a little more set, so I don't want to do that just yet. Alright, so then I pour my wave. I found you can always add more white, but you can't take it back. So just remember that. It's not as big of a deal, I think, in boards, but if you're doing a concave dish or something, less is definitely more because you can't take it out. So I like these cups because it's got the pour spout, and I go next to my clear line. I don't go on top. I lay it right next to it. And then I'll add it where I might have got a little thinner, or like here you see I missed getting next to the white or the clear. So I got it laid. I try to lay my heat gun flat so it's not touching my board, but it's as close to that as I can. And I do it on the high setting because it gives more air to push. You're trying to get that white to push up on top of the other colors. And then once you get it, you can kind of blow out a little bit to get it how you like it. You try not to blow too much. If you try to blow out here a lot, you can actually dissipate your wave. So less is definitely more. If you can tell, we don't have a lot of cells right now, and that's okay. And sometimes, which I didn't have on this one, you'll kind of lose your nice line here. So you can just add a little bit of white. Okay? So now this is your trick to get cells, is using the torch. Be really careful though, I move quick because you can turn your white into a brown like a toasted marshmallow, and that's not any fun. So I move quick trying to hit my white, and you'll see, you'll see the cells start to form. You see I move quick because I learned the hard way. I did burn my white on a couple boards. As you can see, we start getting our cells forming. Haven't had this happen in a while, but you probably can't see here. Nope, that's just a bubble. Looked like I lost resin. There we go. But see how you have to be careful? You can lose resin like I just did. So this doesn't usually happen, but I'll just add a little bit from the bottom, and usually you won't be able to tell. So that gets some cells, not a ton. My favorite trick of getting cells is rubbing alcohol, but you want to use at least 91% or higher. Anything less, you get too much water. I have this fine mister bottle because then I don't get big droplets and spots, but that's a preference thing. So you can watch the magic happen. See how it created more cells in here? That's the best way I found to really get cells in my board. So then, at this point, I make sure that my sides are rubbed. And if I have to pull off of what's dripped, I'll do that. I just want to make sure everything gets covered and we don't have empty spots. And this is why you wait, because you can see we're a lot stickier. And so it sticks a lot better and a lot nicer than if we tried to do this right after we poured. And as I said, this really is a trial and keep practice and practice and practice. But you will get better. And I share those tricks I did. I don't like this spot here. To try to help. But it really is practice, practice, practice. You see I added some on the top. If you hit it lightly with a torch, it'll work itself out and even out. So, then you let that set for 24 hours, and then I work on the drips. You can do it a couple different ways. If you can get tape to stick, like I did on this one, you can just peel the tape, your heat gun, and peel the tape off. A lot of times I can't get the tape to stick, so I just heat gun and I take the scraper and I scrape along the edge. Some people use liquid latex and coat on the back because then it'll just rub right off. Or some people just take a sander to the back of the drips. But you want to take care of the drips within 24 hours because it gets a lot harder the longer you wait. And that is how you make ocean waves on a board. I hope that helps and have fun creating. So I just wanted to show you, this is about 5 minutes after pouring, and you can see the cells have formed a lot better. They've gotten bigger. That will happen as you give it time to just sit. So I found it's best to blow it out and leave it and not try to work the perfect wave because it will move and it will form as it sets.